One of those personalities who have given the maximum number of quotes and who is quoted widely, and that his quotes also go on to carry a variety of type of meaning, and the most diverse meaning of all possible has been that of Mahatma Gandhi. One of his quotes, and in fact on most of his quotes, questions and essays are generally going to be asked. So questions are going to be asked in ethics and integrity, because he was one of those persons who has understood truth very, very well. And you will imagine that he has been associated with some of these statements like truth is God, like love is God, truth is love, love is truth, and so on and so forth. So that goes on to speak a lot of things about his thinking and deep thinking that has permeated into his psyche. Now, one of his quotes that's pretty famous has been, "It's weakness that breeds fear, and fear breeds mistrust." That is, if you can go on to say it so, it's weakness that breeds fear. Who are the people who are fearful? It's people who are weak. And people who are fearful always go on to look certain things with certain degree of mistrust. Now, it is in this context that a lot of words, the meaning of lot of words will go on to become clean. For example, what is mistrust? What is a doubt? What exactly is suspicious? And so on and so forth. The first component in this case is, and the first component of this topic is, what exactly is the meaning of this topic? What exactly does it convey? So what it conveys is that, if you are weak, you will be fearful. If you will be fearful, you will going to have a lot of mistrust. And if you have a lot of mistrust, you won't be able to achieve excellence. Ultimately, this is what we go on to look for. This is where exactly that will go on to lead ourselves to. To what extent we can go on to excel in life, and to what extent human excellence is going to be permeated to us. Now, beginning with it, human excellence, human progress is either achieved by some individual progress, or it can go on to be by building up social capital. Individual excellence means, that is, if I go on to excel individually, that is, there have been some people who had a variety of type of qualities imbibed in them. You're going to find a good number of people whose names you happen to know. For example, if you're going to be talking about perseverance, and if you're going to be talking about bouncing back, then this one person like Abraham Lincoln. If you're going to be talking about sheer genius, a person who can go on to go through some 500 pages of a book and go on to quote from anywhere possible, it has been Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh or Osho that you go on to call him. If you go on to be talking about rising from a level and then reaching pinnacles, ability to connect a lot of people, it has been Prime Minister Modi. If you are able to understand that some people will go on to bring about change by being very, very patient, you know it is going to be Nelson Mandela, and so on and so forth. It has been so. So, it has been individual excellence, or it is going to be by social capital. By social capital, we mean the capital that a human being generally goes into make with other people. And they generally go on to following this adage that a captain of the team is as good as the team. That is, a leader is as good as his team. If his team is not good, then the leader will also not be good. Social capital is by collecting people who can go on to work towards a concept and towards certain things. Now, there is going to be another form of leadership. That is, leaders going to either walk in front, that means some of them will go on to take all the initiative, and they will go on to be in the forefront of almost everything. So that is going to be one of them. Or they will go on to walk behind like a fox, so that they are going to see that the entire herd of foxes go on to be very well organized, and they are safe, and that the leader goes on to see it from beneath, how exactly that it goes on to go. Or the third is that there is all of them going to bring, that is, a leader goes on to bring a good number of people together. All of these people brought together, that is going to be another form of leadership in this case. And when we go on to be talking about that form of leadership, That means we are going to be talking about social capital in this case. So we are going to be bringing it together, and that is what is significant. Social capital. Social capital means when you can go on to congregate a good number of like-minded people, and all of these people will go on to work for a certain type of a cause in this case. So humans who want to excel in certain things, humans who want to rise in some way, these are the people who can go on to be working in a variety of ways. So individual human excellence is generally going to be achieved by an uncluttered mind. Uncluttered mind means that is a mind that is going to be clean, not too confused, not too complicated. That's what is called as uncluttered. Unpolluted by unnecessary thoughts. That means a lot of unnecessary thoughts don't go on to affect you. And also by productive thoughts, not by unproductive and regressive thoughts. That is, you will go on to find it. I am going to give an example. That is, this is an example I may have given you in other places or in other regions as well. That is, there were two people who were asked to get a gift from Okut Almighty. Two people. One of them was his rival. So both of them were brought up. When he was asked for it, then he was said that is a specific condition, that is whatever that you are going to get, this person will go on to get the double of it. You will go on to get, but this person will go on to get the double of it. So can you imagine what he said? He said that, take one of my eyes. So that the other person will go on to lose both of his eyes. Now imagine, this is the ultimate of a negative thought. This is what we are going to be talking about. This is ultimate of a negative thought, and that is what exactly is a regressive thought. You are going to find there will be a good number of people with such type of regressive thought in a Mukherjee Nagar, Rajendra Nagar region, who will always go on to be very judgmental, always going to be critical of everything possible in the whole of the world. Of course, you will have to be careful about all of those people if you are, of course, preparing for this examination. So the greater the number on the type of these type of thoughts, the more regressive is the thinking in this case. And if the thinking is going to be regressive, then there is a greater amount of a space in the mind that is going to be taken by such type of thinking. Of course, in such a case, the person is not able to make any investment of thinking. Now, unless you go on to make an investment of thinking, there is no way that you can go on to progress. Because we are going to be talking about how is it that mistrust develops, what exactly are the signs of weakness. A regressive thought is a sign of a weakness, and a cluttered mind is a sign of weakness. Unproductive thought is a sign of weakness. An inability to invest thinking is a sign of weakness. So we are going to be talking, they won't be able to invest any thinking. Rather, what these people will go on to do is that they will keep on taking guards, because they are not strong enough, they are weak, they will keep on taking guards. Now, if it's like that is, I going to take a guard against you, what you will you do? You will also going to take a guard. Then I will going to take a counter guard. Then you will also going to take a counter guard. Then again I will going to take a counter guard, and this way you will go on to get itself separated. That is, this is why association doesn't go on to get built up. And weak people don't go on to build associations at all. Building association is the prerogative of a strong people. And of course, the other person has to be equally strong in order to build a such type of an association. So we are going to be talking about the moment they start taking guards, then things start going wrong, because then they start going to be distancing themselves. And the more they go into distance, the more will be the number of guards that will be required. So the greater number of guards that a person makes, the greater is the amount of a distance that they go on to make from the other people and other fellow people. Under such a circumstance, the other person also goes on to be taking a guard, and then it goes on to become a series of guards and guards and guards. Thus it goes on to inhibit social capital. So the person is not able to build a social capital. It inhibits transparent communication, because you're always fearful of something. We are talking about that is a weak person is the one that goes on to instill fear. Fear goes on to build mistrust, and mistrust goes on to be a cause of a lot of things. And so we are going to be talking about a flow of transparent communication that hinders exchange of ideas, and the person ultimately becomes isolated intellectually and socially. When we are going to be talking about an intellectual isolation, then this intellectual isolation basically means that you won't be able to share your thoughts, and you are not exactly in a position to share your thoughts. So you go on to become you get yourself hindered intellectually and socially. And under such type of a situation, what happens is you don't go on to build up a synergy, because you are always fearful, you are always mistrustful of the other person concerned. It is also likely to break certain type of association and becomes an average generalist. That means you become a miniature of what you may have been in this case. So his ability to utilize his talent, you cannot go to utilize your talent unless actually you go on to be building an association. And your inability to build such an association makes it very, very difficult for you to move in life, because now we do not go on to live in a world where all of these things can be done by you. Most of these things have to be done in a collective manner, because there is no way, even if you start a business, you cannot go on to be good in production, you cannot go on to be good in organization, you cannot go on to be good in marketing, you cannot go on to be good in diffusion, you cannot go on to be good in public relations. So you have to build certain type of an association in some way or the other. And that is how you will go on to move ahead in this case as well. This is the way. So in any pursuit of excellence, trying to be excelling it, there are always going to be some risk involved. Who goes to take a risk? A weak person is not capable of taking a risk at all. So risk taking is going to be only done when there is some degree of an association, certain degree of a strength that you're going to be having. And when there is going to be certain degree of a synergy is associated, association is involved, then you will start taking risk. And this is going to be done only by people who don't go on to be developing mistrust, who don't go on to be weaker. And only strong people will go on to make such type of suggestions. So moving ahead means basically that some mistakes will go on to occur. They are likely going to be mistakes that will definitely go on to occur. Then these mistakes have to be managed, and then there has to be a backup plan. And of course, when all of these things going to happen, there will be a flexible approach in which the person concerned will be required courage. And of course, he will have to stoop to learn as well, because learning doesn't go to mean that you will be arrogant and still you can go to learn. You have to be very, very humble in order to learn. You have to shed your egos, but will always go on to maintain your self-esteem. Ego means that if you don't go to look down upon another person. Self-esteem is that you keep on improving upon yourself. So this is what exactly is going to happen in the pursuit of such type of an excellence. And when you go on to do it, then it goes on to show, that is, when you go on to think of building an association, when you go on to think of moving ahead, when you think of synergizing something, when you think of investing a emotion, when you go on to think of investing your decisions, when you go on to think about investing your thinking, then all of these do not go on to speak of a weak mind. They all go on to be indicative of a strong mind. And that's what we are going to be generally talking about. A strong mind is the one that is largely responsible for most of them. A weak mind never thinks of stooping to learn. They can never go and do that. A weak mind never thinks of association, because all of them will go to think that the other person will go to eat them away. A weak mind will never go to think of innovation, because they are not courageous enough to think of innovation. They will always go on to follow a beaten track. And as these minds are very, very insecure, and this is this insecurity that they keep on breeding in themselves. It's like they take a seed of insecurity, go on to put it in soil, go on to water it, then they go on to fertilize it, and then they allow this to be grown. And when that goes on to get it grown, then they go on to rest in the shadow of the tree that they have created of insecurity. That's the way that they go on to lead their life too. So they only go as far as moving an established beaten track, because that is a beaten track, an established track. They will not go on to innovate in this case. And they are always fearful of losing their identity, because they cannot go to carve a new identity. A strong person is always in a position to carve different type of identities. So it can go on to be, let's say, a scholar, it can go on to be a coach, it can go on to be a teacher, it can go on to be thought leadership. It can go to be anything. So such a fear of losing this so-called identity that prevents association building. This is where association building will not going to take place. It will go to prevent synergy, to form a social capital. Social capital is formed only when you go to synergize. You go to synergize with people here and there. And then it goes into isolates the person intellectually. When we go to be talking about isolating the person intellectually, that basically means that you will go on to be very, very different, very, very, very different, getting yourself isolated intellectually. That is, you will not going to share your thoughts, you will not going to share your viewpoint, and you will be, when you are going to be having a viewpoint that is very, very rigid, of course you are going to get yourself isolated intellectually. So it goes on to prevent the flow of fresh ideas and makes it very inimical of any progressive and far-sighted growth. That is, when you are not in a position to give, your mind is almost, an intellectual mind is like a window, completely open from every possible side. And when you are not in a position to give, there is no way that you can go to receive it as well. Like there will be complete absence of such type of fresh air and other things as well. So it completely prevents the flow of fresh ideas and makes it very inimical of any progressive, far-sighted growth. The person then withdraws into their own cocoon, that is in their own cocoon, and then sees everything sweetening him, everything better than him or her, and then they start harming the other person rather than allowing themselves to grow. So they start harming the other person. They think of harming, they think of pulling the other person down rather than allowing themselves to grow. Now, all of this period, they fail to understand that doubts can never be the basis of building any relationship at all. Doubts have never been a basis for building any sort of a relationship at any point of a time. And they can never be even now as well. That's one. And they can never be any basis of any innovation as well. And never can be the basis of any progress as well. There is none of them. So doubts persisting for a long time, that degenerates into suspicion. That is, now both of them are different. Now when you have a doubt, possibly you have a question. Suspicion means that you're going to presuppose that something is wrong somewhere. Now both of them go on to be different. Doubt is having a question, which you can go on to have an answer, which you're seeking an answer of. Suspicion means that you presuppose that something is inherently wrong, something is definitely wrong, and that because something is going to be definitely wrong, consequently, and therefore, we go on to be then talking of not being associated with them. That is the degeneration. That is, it for long goes on degenerating into suspicion, and suspicion is a sign of a very weak mind because it presupposes that something is going to be wrong. In India, it has been known that Purusharth is all about moving ahead. You keep on moving ahead. True Purusharth is moving ahead. And it's like there is making mistakes. Of course, everyone will go to make mistakes because that is the way that you're going to learn. From mistakes, improving that one, and thus innovating, forging greater understanding, and then bonding as well. That is, the more you're going to move, and if you keep on moving, you will go on to practice all of these things. And it is in this process of practicing that you will go to learn as well. This is what exactly Purusharth is. Purusharth is going to be complete work in this case. So, a weak mind will be the one that will be full of fear. A fearful mind will be one that will go on to be full of suspicion. And that's what we go on to say. That is, a weak mind will never be able to progress. A weak mind will never be able to innovate. A weak mind will never be able to go ahead as well. It doesn't go on to progress at all. This has been Mahatma Gandhi's statement about his own quote as well. That is, a weak mind breeds suspicion. That is, a fearful mind goes on to breed suspicion. A weak mind goes on to bear fear. Fear breeds mistrust, and mistrust doesn't go to lead to anywhere at all.
Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for more such updates. Like and share the video and let us know your queries in the comment section below.